hey to everybody that's out there this evening, and a Happy New Year. Happy New Year. This is our first broadcast of 2022, and I am so delighted that today we are going to be opening up our year's worth of broadcasts and educational seminars with our clinical consultant, Miss Serena Niehaus. Serena, Happy New Year, my love.
Happy New Year, and it's wonderful to be here with you.
I know, and I know the technology part of everything is just like so crushing for you. So I have to extend my thanks and my gratitude for at least seeing it through.
Absolutely.
Serena, so our topic for today is the role of the DON. And let's just start actually by giving a little bit of history about Serena. Serena, tell us a little bit about you. Share with everybody that is listening about your journey, because again, it's really going to capture, you know, the intent of the purpose of this this broadcast today, in terms of what do we do as a DON. So tell us a little bit about your history.
Well, I started as a very young nurse at 19 years old, and I worked in the hospital as a med-surg nurse. I had a diploma. An associate's degree, and I started working in the hospital as on the med-surg units, and then from there I actually then went to the emergency room. I spent 7 years on the med-surg floors, and then I went to the emergency room, and then I instituted the first 12-hour shifts at the hospital, and I had a lot of free time on my hands. So I said, what am I going to do with all this free time? And I took up a little nursing supervisor job in a home care agency. And they didn't even want to hire me because they said I had no home care experience.
Is this the one that I'm familiar with?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Very big company today. So I said, I think if I can run an emergency room, I think I can take care of one client in the home setting and make good critical decisions. And so it was two nurses who owned the company, and one wanted to give me the opportunity, and the other one said, no, she has no experience. I said, oh, please, just let me try it out. So I said, I'll show you that I can do it. So sure enough, I started as a little per diem supervisor, going out and doing assessments. And I just grew to love it because it was so different than the hospital setting in terms of being able to provide that one-on-one contact with the individuals. And once I got into home care, I saw the behind the scenes, what was going on in the office. And then I worked myself up from a nurse supervisor, a per diem nurse supervisor, to a in-house nurse supervisor, managing the other nurses. Then I became the director of nursing. Then I became the director of operations. So I really had, I started from the ground up in terms of becoming.
And you're really not giving yourself the credit that it deserves, because, in the 20-something years that I've known you, there has most definitely been some milestones that you have accomplished. And again, another reason why you're here, not just as my friend, but as a very, very highly regarded professional, to be able to share with our viewers today about that role of the DON. What is it going to take? We cannot take it for granted that we're doing non-skilled or personal care, that a DON is not critical in our everyday delivery of care. So we're going to delve right in. So let's stop talking, because I know that you have a presentation for us today.
Oh, sure. And it takes a lot. It takes a lot to be a director of nursing.
And your advice is don't do it, right?
Well, I actually did it for 10 years in the subacute, and I did it for 12 years in the home care setting. So, and I'm doing it now, basically, even though I'm the senior advisor, I still oversee the whole.
Absolutely.
But the key is, you have to ask yourself, what does it take to be a director of nursing? You have to be professional, compassionate. You have to be extremely flexible. You certainly, being a DON requires hard work, dedication, and determination. And you have to be willing to teach. You have to have strong leadership skills, strong clinical skills, and the most important, good communication skills.
And this is why you have been successful in your trade, Serena. So do you guys out there have what it takes to be a DON? Serena, it's over to you, my love.
Okay. And then also you need to be a problem solver, because you are going to come across multiple problems. People are going to be coming to you, whether it be the home health aide, whether it be the family member, whether it be, the client themselves. You are constantly problem solving. And if you like to find solutions, then becoming a DON is definitely for you. And the key is you have to ask yourself, what am I as a leader? Who am I as a leader? What is the definition of a good leader? You have to envision a desired future. You have to see the big picture with good, positive outcomes. Leaders foster innovation and change. You are always looking to change and put quality improvement in place. And you need to build effective teams. You have to have an effective team, and you want to have high performing teams. And what does it take to have high performing teams? We'll talk about that. And also, leaders create positive work cultures. You are the role model. People are looking towards you, and you want to walk in their shoes and have them walk alongside you as well.
So Serena, let me just jump in real quick, because I'm going to play devil's advocate. I'm going to, push the envelope a little bit, and I'm going to say, well, hey, I'm the DON, right? All of those things in terms of, being a leader and all of those things, should that not be for the administrator? Should that not be for the executive director? Should that not be for the owner? Again, respond to that for those who may have that mindset that my role is just in the clinical space.
Certainly, we are all leaders. Whether you're the administrator, you're a leader. Whether you're a manager, you're a leader. A home health aide is a leader in her own or his own right.
Absolutely.
You as the DON is a leader also. And you have to have these leadership traits. Otherwise, you're not going to make it. You have to be able to mentor others. You have to want to share your knowledge with others. You want to practice humility and be modest in terms of, just because I'm the DON, that doesn't make me better than you. Everybody's on the same level, and we are the role models, just like the administrator is the role model. And you don't want to be the type of DON that just sits in their office. They're never out in the field. They're not out on the units. You want to be right there on the front lines. Look at Zelensky. He's some leader. Okay.
Right.
And you want to be able to mentor others, and you also want to challenge the status quo. What does it mean, the status quo? That means managing the business the way it always has been managed. We don't want to manage the business the way it's always been managed. You always want to think ahead. You want to envision for the future. You want to be able to challenge what we've been doing.
Right.
And maybe, even suggest a change to the company culture. Go to the administrator and tell her that you want to change the culture and how can we do things better. It's a constant performance improvement and a quality improvement type of thing going on. And some of the most, you have to ask yourself, if I'm going to be a DON, do I really have the skills to be a true healthcare leader? You need to practice empathy, and you need to create comfort zones for the individuals that are not feeling as secure. You need to show caring values and words and actions by taking a detailed look at the common obstacles and stresses. And when you have those stresses, you need to stay calm, and you need to offer guidance and support in overcoming those obstacles. Communication, as I said, is probably one of the most important. When you're choosing the right delivery method, whether it be verbal, nonverbal, in today's world, nobody picks up the phone. Everybody emails everybody or texts everyone. A good, true leader picks up the telephone and talks to the individuals. Telephone communication is probably the number one skill in terms of developing high-performing teams. And strategic decision making, you need to weigh the potential outcomes, in the workforce while still balancing the needs of the organization as a whole. You are the DON and you're working closely with the administrator, so you need to work together and look at the organization as a whole and what can we do to make it better, make it better for everyone. And once the decision is made that you've done your strategic planning and your strategic decision making, you want to be able to communicate that information clearly. Clear communication. You don't need to use a lot of fluff words or at all. Just state the facts and get that information out to your team. And self-awareness. You as a leader, as a director of nursing, you need to know your own strengths and weaknesses, and you need to be able to identify the gap. It's okay to have gaps in your abilities, but you need to work on that. And as long as you can understand and know your strengths and weaknesses, you can work on that and you become a better person and a better leader. And you want to be able to develop future successes. So people are watching you, your team is watching you. And, you're leading by example. And that's what you want to be able to convey to your team out there. And I'm sorry,
Serena. So with these 5 important skills that you've mentioned, many of our owners, they're also, dual roles because they're DON as well as they're the administrators. And they may have that strong clinical presence, but the other side is that the administrator may not necessarily be as strong. How do you balance that? And how would you balance that knowing that, number one, you are in a leadership capacity? What would be your recommendations and your suggestions for having someone balance that between the dual role?
You definitely need to trust one another. You have to have a good, cohesive relationship between you and the administrator. And the administrator relies greatly on the director of nursing. So because the administrator may not have the clinical skills, and even though we're in a home care setting, a non-medical setting, you use a lot of your clinical skills in order to deal with the families, to make suggestions. You're working with the other members of the healthcare team because your client is in the home setting. And even though you're not doing the skilled care, you're working with the skilled team. So your nursing background plays a big part in offering suggestions and your knowledge to, the others that are part of the healthcare team. But as far as the DON and the administrator, you have to be married to each other in order to make it successful and really trust one another. And, when there is conflict, you need to come to terms with each other and talk it through. It's okay to disagree, but you need to come to some realization that, of course, the administrator ends up making the final decision. But when the administrator and the DON work together, it's like a marriage, and it works very well.
And I know I've been in those situations that, I'm not the nurse, and I've had to really rely deeply and heavily on my DON in making those sound judgment calls. Now, the trust is there. It's like, okay, then, go ahead, make that call, make that decision. And equally, just the other way around is that if there is that management or administrator owner decision that needs to be made, the DON will also respect that. So I've been in those situations before. So most definitely acknowledge and respect that. Thanks, Serena.
Yes. And then the last skill that you want to have is a customer-oriented process in your home care setting. You want to engage employees in their work as a whole, the team and the organization. You want to demonstrate leaders value that you as a leader value the employee contributions. It's not, that you make all the decisions. Incorporate your team in terms of giving good input. and good ideas, and putting some of those ideas into place, because they're really the ones on the front line. You need to sustain employee engagement, because that helps decrease turnover, and it also provides improvement in the patient experience. And most importantly, you're delivering high quality of care and positive health outcomes. So look at this slide. Says a day in the life of the DON.
Well, this is going to be fun.
No day is ever alike. You may plan out your day and you get to work in the morning and you're at the office and the whole day starts off totally different.
I think everybody can relate to that.
Absolutely. You never know what the day is going to bring. So it's very hectic. Every day is very hectic. And the DON, the Director of Nursing, wears many hats. And you have to be extremely flexible and be able to juggle, the business end of it, the staffing models, the staff, the clinical component, the customers, of course. I mean, they're your number one, between the customers and the staff, you need to juggle lots every day. And of course, the regulatory end of home care and the compliance. And each one of these components has its own set of moving parts and policies. And once you create the policies, then you have to enforce the policies. So like I said earlier, a DON requires hard work, dedication, and determination. You have to multitask. If you can't multitask, this position is not for you.
Right.
And you really, truly need strong leadership and clinical skills. And like I said before, communication skills and problem solving. I
always love the comment that Dr. Phil had made. He said, there's always two sides to a pancake. And I think the statement that you just made in terms of, being able to multitask, and if you're not able to carry those multiple hats, be able to really be very centered with your team, your administrator, your owner, DON is not for you. And guys, hey, look, when we start out from the beginning, it's not going to be as hectic, of course. But as you grow, you're going to see more of these. But the traits still need to be there, and for us to be aware of as we are adopting ourselves in the day-to-day operations of the agency.
Right. I'm working with an administrator now. He's got a home care business, and he's been in it. He comes from the financial world, and he wanted to give back to the community. So he opened up a home care agency, and he's been in it now for 2.5 years. The other day, for the first time, he said, what did I get myself into? As the company is growing, he thought everything was going to just roll along smoothly and take its time. I said, there's a sense of urgency here. When you get that inquiry for an intake, they want service now, not 3 days later. So
absolutely.
He's getting adjusted as his business is growing, and I'm there as his senior advisor, helping him to grow his business. And from the clinical side, from the business side, and when I said, sometimes we say, thank God it got done. Thank God to the home care gods. Somehow it fell into place.
Absolutely.
And, so it's an interesting role, and home care is certainly an interesting business. And you really have to be up for the challenge.
Right.
If this is really what you're getting yourself into, whether you're the DON or the administrator.
On that thought, though, Serena, I want to hold that thought just very, very quickly. I want to just go into a quick break, and then we're going to come back and then finish up the rest of your presentation, because I think that was a great segment just to say, hey, do you really want to do this? If you do, let's move on and let's see the rest of the slides. So let's just take a break just for a few moments.
Okay.
That was nice and quick. Just gave us a moment just to take all of that in. And going forward, we are now going to really get into the meats and potatoes of being a DON. Serena Niehaus is here with us from Wyckoff, New Jersey. She's our clinical consultant, a friend, a confidant, just a phenomenal individual. Thank you again for being here with us, Serena, and the beginning of your presentation was great. I know that the ending of the presentation is going to be even better. So let's again delve right in and let's finish up that information about what's going to make that perfect DON, and are we really ready to step in that role?
Right. Well, here are some roles and responsibilities of what the DON has to encounter, whether it be on a daily basis, a weekly basis. The key is we have to direct and supervise day-to-day clinical operations. And your administrator may even ask you to supervise other, budgetary operations, problem solving. We also have to oversee all the patient care services and the personnel, to include coordinating referrals. You might have to be taking the intake, setting up the patient care, making sure that the patient needs are continually being assessed. You'll have field supervisors under you. You want to make sure that they're following the plan of care, that they're putting together a patient-centric plan of care that is individualized for each patient, and making sure that it's kept updated as the client. In home care, we call them clients. In the hospital, we call them patients. In the SNF, we call them residents. So in the assisted living, we call them residents. So it's all the same person who requires the care and the help that we are able to provide. So also the DON is responsible for all administrative duties associated with the clinical team. And when the administrator is off, she or he may be responsible for all the administrative duties for the entire organization. We also ensure that the agency meets budgeted goals. You want to make sure that you're constantly meeting your EBITDA and you're able to meet those goals, and certainly look forward to growth and quality, and making sure that the payroll is you're not exceeding any overtime, because all of your revenue would be going right down the tubes if you're not really managing your staffing patterns there. And most of all, compliance with the local, the state, and the federal regulations. In New Jersey, we have the Department of Health. In South Carolina, there's the Department of Health. Every state has a Department of Health. The Division of Consumer Affairs is here in New Jersey. I'm not sure if it's in other states as well. The Joint Commission, depending on what accrediting body you may be using, the Accreditation for Commission for Healthcare. Actually, New Jersey has their own accrediting organization called CAC, which is the Commission on Accreditation of Healthcare. So, compliance is very, very specific. It's detailed oriented, and you need to make sure that it's being followed through, as well as writing new policies and procedures. You're revising policies. And, we've all been through it during COVID, as you needed to create policies, and, from an infection control point of view, from PPE, and you need to remain current and relevant. So not only are you working on a daily basis and making sure things are falling into place and the organization is flowing, you know, in your downtime, whenever that is, you're also looking to see what's new and what's happening out there with the regulations and following your state guidelines. As well as once you write the policies, you want to make sure that your established policies are enforced, and that takes a lot of time and effort, and you have to have a good team behind you. You as the DON, you may even be performing the supervisory visits and the home assessments, depending on what the regulation is in your state. And, that takes, you're taking into account the client, the family, the environment, the clinical caregivers, and recruiting, hiring, coordinating training, onboarding the personnel, overseeing the orientation, probably doing most of the orientation, depending on how big your organization is. You're responsible for staff in-service training, so you need to come up with relevant topics, because you want to keep your home health aides engaged, and you don't want to talk about the same thing, falls, dementia. Just recently, I put together an in-service program of caring for the LGBTQ community, because they have their own set of needs and differences, and we want our staff to really embrace the LGBT. Woo! Wait a minute, the LGBT. But you want to make sure that you're providing education to your staff that's relevant to your organization. I also put together a management of the ostomy patient, because we recently got a colostomy patient, and we also got an ileostomy patient. So I want the staff to really understand what's out there and what's needed, and keep them engaged, and they're thirsty for education.
And I will say this though, again, in just being devil's advocate in all of this, there are most definitely some roles that Serena had just mentioned in that last slide that don't necessarily feel that your DON has to do it, but most definitely she would want to participate in who's being hired, who's going to be going out in the field, because ultimately that employee is coming under her license. Okay, so it's not like your DON's got to sit down there and go through the checklist and do her paperwork, et cetera, et cetera. No, that's not necessarily what we're saying here. We are saying that the DON needs to be actively involved at some level. Am I right in saying that, Serena?
Absolutely. And it all really depends on how big the organization is. Because initially, when you're starting out, you have multiple roles that you're taking over.
Absolutely.
And as you're growing, you can add more personnel, but certainly, you need to really be involved. And also, the DON takes an active part in terms of designing and managing a continuous quality improvement and coming up with initiatives. But that, as a group, you can bring your team together and talk about what is it that we can do in order to, change the environment here, or make it better, and make improvements overall. And then it all comes down to having a high performance team. When you have a high performance team, you want to be able to recognize the team for what it has achieved. You want to instill the values and pull together for the greater good of the organization. And having a high performance team, the goal is to promote these high performance teams, because what it does ultimately in the end, it shows a shared commitment to the vision and goals of the organization. It shows that there's a shared accountability for results, and everybody is truly involved. There's also transparent communication. Sometimes it's hard to hear some things, but transparency is critical, as well as constructive conflict. Nobody wants to be told what to do, what not to do, and everything. But if you do it in a constructive way, we all learn from it, and we all learn from each other. And overall, it's a mutual respect and camaraderie. And by having a high performance team, you can be extremely successful. You create loyalty, you have optimum productivity, collaboration between all of you, and it creates visibility.
And this is an area most definitely for DON and administrator to really anchor on and present that kind of relationship within the office. I mean, this is not just a one-person thing. This is just not the DON's role and function, but most definitely everyone needs to play a huge part in it. But most definitely for the administrator and the DON to really enforce that and bring that to light.
Right. And don't forget, everybody is watching you. So you are the role model. So if you have a good administrator and you as a great DON, you have so much power, and people look forward to that, and they want to emulate you as well and work together.
Right.
So, you really have to, be aware of how you're presenting yourself and how you're being viewed by others, because we're looking up to you. And, that's all in a day's activity. And it's a very demanding job. I would say it's very demanding. It's, you have to be available 24/7. You might have a great field nurse supervisor who, maybe he'll take on call for you sometimes, but certainly you need to really be committed and have a true passion for what this business takes, because you have people and your clients and their families are depending on you, and you want to be sure that you're, taking care of your clients the way you take care of your families.
And I think we should ask for a head count, or everybody who raised their hand who says that yes, they still want to be a DON, right?
Yeah.
All right, then. So maybe we won't ask that question. We won't ask that question. But we have come to the end of your segment here, Serena. And again, the role of the DON, and it's got so many moving parts to it, so many areas of it that is so consolidated in other areas, and again,
Right.
the relationships that you have, the communication that you deliver is going to be key to, your success or your demise.
Absolutely. And you really have to be committed, and you have to have a passion for caring for individuals as well, whether it be your staff, whether it's your client, whether it's the client's family, the other healthcare team members. So it takes a lot. It takes a lot. And if you like, if you're very energetic and you like to, have organized chaos, as I say, then this is the role for you. And I'm always here. Anybody that wants any additional information, certainly you can, call Home Care Business Advisors. I'm happy to help in any way I can. I'm happy to share my knowledge, and certainly I want you to be successful. So there's my email. And as you see, I'm a dinosaur because I still have AOL.com. And my cell phone is on 24/7, and I'm happy to help at any point in time.
And again, I extend that to everybody that is hearing. Home Care Business Advisors has been developed as a resource, as a way for new business owners to get that real entrenched information, right? We're not here to guide you the wrong way. As I say to our members, is that your success is going to be our success, so we want to guide you in the right way. And there's so many moving parts, and every single part of it has to be taken very, very seriously, and the steps needed. Don't try and rush putting all of these things together. Just be very, very aware and knowledgeable of how it's all going to work out together, because they do go hand in hand, most definitely. Yeah. Serena, give me your final words to all of those who are out here that are listening to you. And again, it's our first segment for 2022. What are your final words?
I wish all of you the best of luck in whatever roles you play in your home care agency, whether you're the administrator, the DON, you're a home health aide, you're a companion. We have so much to offer to the community, and together as a team, we can do it. And as we're aging in place, there's such a need for our services. So like I said, I'm happy to answer any questions for any of you. Feel free to give me a call, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you so very much, Serena. Guys, my closing statement is just to let you all know we have our first annual home care conference coming up. It's going to be right here in South Carolina on June 28th. If you have not seen that information, please head over to our Facebook page. Reach out to me if you need to. You can go to info@homecarebusinessadvisors.com. It is going to be packed with other, professionals, home care professionals, from legal down to nursing, down to marketing, down to payroll. It's all going to be there. So where you may need to refresh your skills, where you just may need just to tap in again and just get yourself reinforced and reignited, our first home care conference is going to be the place to be. So if you are in the area, if you do have that time, you do have that flexibility, we would love to see you. Until then, until our next broadcast, I'm going to say goodbye.
Goodbye. Take care.
Thanks, Serena.
Oh, my pleasure.